Nice to see you all. I just have a couple of brief questions, noting the Chair has indicated that the committee has already, I think, extensively canvassed the recent financial collapses about the First Guardian, Shield and Lion matters, right? So we probably won't agree on this, but I mean, I would say historically ASIC has struggled to respond quickly to warnings it receives. So in relation to the First Guardian matter, when did you first receive notification from someone, including potentially industry, that something wasn't quite right?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Senator Bragg. In relation to First Guardian, we received reports about selling practices that we had been long concerned about, that involve cold calling, lead generation and unlicensed advice. So you'll be aware, no doubt, that super switching has become available since 2005. We have long been concerned about selling practices and risks to investors of switching their super. So in June 2020, we received reports about, as I say, conduct involving selling practices.
June 2020.
June 2020. Now, that we had, as I said, been this had been an area that we had been concerned about for quite some time, so it wasn't like this was the first time we had concerns about particularly cold calling in relation to super. However, none of those reports referred specifically to the First Guardian Master Fund as an underlying investment, and none of those reports highlighted or gave us any evidence of funds being misappropriated by the operators of the First Guardian Master Fund. Our activities in relation to the First Guardian Master Fund commenced as a result of the investigation we had underway into the Shield Master Fund, and we became aware when we saw significant amounts of money being channelled through financial advisors into this First Guardian Master Fund, that there may be issues with that fund as well as with the Shield Master Fund, and we started investigating it very shortly afterwards.
Okay, so is the answer to my question June 2020 or another date?
The answer to your question is that we received reports about cold calling, lead generation, selling practices and unlicensed advice, some of which referred to the First Guardian Master Fund, as well as other funds.
In 2020?
June 2020.
Okay, and then I understand that you received more industry-based warnings or other notifications in October 23, is that right?
Are you sorry, Senator, I'm aware that there has been some reporting about the FAAA referring issues to us, yes,
sure
but as
exactly
I say, we were,
yeah,
again, well aware of those issues in 2023.
Okay, and then regulatory action formally commenced in September 24, is that right?
We're talking about the
First
Guardian Master Fund. We commenced a preliminary investigation into the First Guardian Master Fund in February 2024. As I say, we became aware of the issues.
That's the investigation starting, right?
That's right. So we became aware of the issues with the First Guardian Master Fund in January 2024 as a result of our investigation into Shield. We commenced the investigation shortly afterwards in February 2024. We commenced a formal Section 13 investigation in September 2024.
2024, okay. So, First Guardian, so you have some warnings in 2020, maybe they're broad, you have more warnings in 2023, and we see action, hard action in September 24.
Well, I'm not sure that's how I'd characterise it, Senator Bragg. I think you said at the outset we may agree to disagree. We received reports in relation to First Guardian and other funds back in June 2020. We were well aware of these selling practices, cold calling, financial advice, cookie cutter advice. We'd done a range of activity. We took a range of action at the time in relation to others that were involved in that kind of activity. We were not on notice in relation to any underlying concerns about that fund itself until January 2024. We started an investigation the following month.
Okay, then in relation to Shield, we're talking about initial warnings in October 23, is that right, or earlier?
May 2022, we received similar reports
May
about the
23.
selling practices, some of which specifically referred to the Shield Master Fund as one of the underlying investments. Again, none of those highlighted or gave evidence of investor funds being misappropriated by the operators of the underlying fund. In early April 2023, we received a report for the first time that raised concerns about the fund itself. We commenced a preliminary investigation later that month, and we issued notices shortly afterwards to
In February 24,
Macquarie.
right?
Sorry, Senator.
In February 24, you take regulatory action.
No, we commenced an investigation in April 2023.
Yeah, but an investigation is not the same as actually seeking a court order or...
Well, an investigation obviously predates
Sure,
court
but you have
action
lots
or
of
anything else.
investigations that don't necessarily result in prosecutions.
Yes, we do many investigations
Yes.
that don't result in prosecutions, as
That's
all
right.
regulators do. We did, though, Senator, in May 2023, issue compulsory notices to Macquarie, which then led to Macquarie taking the Shield Master Fund off its platform. I think it was in early June 2023.
And then Lion, my understanding is you had warnings in July 24
So
and then took
Lion-
action in February 25, is that right or was that wrong?
So Lion is in a completely different category altogether, Senator. So I just would want to make sure that we don't mix the Lion investigation into the work we've been doing.
Look, I mean, they're all people, and they're all people who live in a country where they expect that laws will be enforced. And I think the expectation is that we have all these laws in the books. We've got one of the world's longest corporations laws, right? We've got conflicted remuneration laws, which ban commissions. We've got a requirement that people invest in accordance with the PDS and don't steal the money, right, and take it offshore. We have all these laws, and so whether these people have invested in First Guardian or Shield or Lion, I don't think they really care. I think their expectation is that you will protect them when you receive these warnings. Now, what it sounds like is, in all these cases, you've had warnings for years, you've had investigations, but in the period between receiving warnings and actually taking regulatory action, which is different from having an investigation, these people have been fleeced.
Yeah, I understand your point, Senator Bragg, but there are important differences to point out. In the Shield and the First Guardian matters, we're talking about investors who understood that they were moving their superannuation funds from one regulated super fund to another, and they, as we've talked about, or as you're alluding to, many of them have lost significant amounts of money. In the Lion situation, Lion at no time held an AFSL. Investors found the Lion Property Group through Facebook advertisements. There was no connection to lead generators or advisors, and those people...
So I didn't hear you. Did you say it did or didn't hold
It did
an
not
AFSL?
hold an AFSL.
So it was like a Melissa Caddick style situation. They had a fake licence.
I don't know that they had a licence at all,
Almost
Senator
done
Bragg.
all
I'm not saying that. And those investments were done through self-managed super funds. So yes, that situation is different, and I can take you through the background to the Lion Group. But I understand your point, Senator. These are significant issues for investors. We absolutely acknowledge that.
They are.
But we do reject the imputation that you're making, which is that ASIC has somehow failed here. There are multiple investment opportunities available. We have a very permissive investment scheme, and ASIC acts as quickly as we're able to on these kinds of issues. And far from not enforcing the law, in relation to the Shield and First Guardian matters, we have taken some 45 different court actions. We have frozen funds, we have got travel restraints, we froze the assets of the Shield Master Fund to ensure they are available to be returned to investors. We've got equity trustees in court, we've got Macquarie in court, we've got an outcome that Macquarie is refunding $330 million to those impacted investors. So I do have to categorically deny your assertion that ASIC has not been an active enforcement agency in relation to these very significant issues.
Of course, I respect your role, I respect that you've got to say that, but the facts bear out that it took a very long time to get moving on these things and to achieve regulatory action. So my last question is,
Well,
my last question is, what assurance can you give the investors whether they're in Lion or Shield or First Guardian, that you're going to be able to help restore their position? Because I don't really think it matters what structure you're arguing they've invested through. They all live in a country where they expect that the conflicted remuneration laws and the investment in accordance with the disclosure documents would be reasonable expectations. So how are you going to restore this position for those three groups of people? And in doing so, what are the lessons to be learned here about how ASIC can move quicker next time when it gets these sort of warnings?
Senator Bragg, firstly, in relation to the investors in the Shield Master Fund and the First Guardian Master Fund, I think we have been very public and strong in our indication that we have prioritised getting monies back for investors above everything else. We've had a very significant outcome in that regard in relation to the Macquarie investigation, and we have the work that ASIC's done both in freezing the funds in the Shield Master Fund and then taking court action against Macquarie have achieved very significant outcomes there. We are on the record as saying we are continuing to do everything that we can to try to make investors whole. So we have stood up a significant team of people. They are literally working around the clock. They will continue to do so. They are extremely passionate about these issues. They are engaging with investors all the time. We recognise the serious impact that these failure of these funds has had on those investors. We take it very seriously. And our second element is to make sure that those entities and individuals that have been involved in creating this sorry mess are held to account, and we're certainly very committed to doing that also.
Sorry, Chair, just the official didn't answer my question about the Lion matter. So what about Lion? What will you do for them?
Well, the Lion matter we are investigating at the moment. Senator Bragg, I can't say much more about that at this stage, except we're investigating it and we'll explore all options.
Well, we want you to do everything you can to help these people because, as I say, I think their expectation that they live in a country where all these laws that we've put in place here in Canberra are going to be enforced is not an unreasonable one.
We agree and we enforce them, Senator Bragg.
Thanks, Senator Bragg. Senator McKee.